It's time for another edition of PRosé with Vikki, Locke, and Cyndee Woolley from C2 Communications.
We're back. It's PRosé, a couple of PR pros, get it? Talking prose literature, get it? With some fabulous authors. And I'm Vikki, Locke with my good friend Cyndee Woolley. What are you drinking, girl?
Oh, I found this fantastic red blend called Fiction. I said we're interviewing authors and talking stories. So what a perfect drink for today. What about you?
Because we're in Italy today, I've got this Antinori in my Bubbles and Bling that I just love that keeps it really cold. It's a Chardonnay. It's pretty tasty. It's dry. I like it. And I know you're a red person, but I think you might like it too.
Definitely. Well,
because I've been drinking a lot lately because my husband had knee replacement surgery recently. So I'm kind of his caretaker right now. And it's like having a little kid sometimes. It's a lot of work. It's causing me to drink. No, I'm just kidding. He's wonderful.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of stress when you go through that kind of thing, and you forget how much you got to drive people places, right?
Right. A lot of PT. And then I forgot because our guest, who is in Italy and it's 6 hours late, she's emailing me yesterday, and I'm working with Mike. And so I didn't email her back till like 12:30, 1 o'clock her time. And I've got to apologize to her. And let's get right to it because Cyndee and I love Italy. We love food. We love the wine. We love the culture. We love everything about the food. And our guest today is an expert in food, in entertaining, in styling. You've probably seen her on the Today Show. You've probably checked out some of her recipes or her party ideas in Better Homes and Gardens, and Southern Living, in Huffington Post, just to name a few. She's written several books, including Picture Perfect Parties, Cocktail Italiano, which I was introduced to the Aperol Spritz, one of my faves, and the book that we all love, Italy is my boyfriend. See, I'm so nervous. Italy is my boyfriend. She's also got a new release coming out this fall. It's called La Fortessa Cookbook. And La Fortessa is the name of her 12th century fortress that she lives in northern Tuscany. And she hosts workshops and retreats. And Cyndee and I both want to go there so badly. Welcome to PRosé, Annette Joseph. Yay!
Wow, that's quite the introduction. I love
what are you drinking?
Guys. Sorry, say that again.
And what are you drinking?
Oh, I'm drinking. So we have a vineyard. So I'm drinking our rosé since this is PRosé. This is new this year. It's a new vintage. I've been wanting to do a rosé now for 5 years. And so this year was the first year that we could do, which was so exciting. And it's really delicious. It's not sweet. It's actually dry, but it tastes a lot like strawberries. So if you can picture like dried strawberries, that's what it tastes like. It's really good. And so that's what I'm drinking. So chin chin.
Can you get it in the States or do we have to go there to buy it?
Well, we don't sell our wine. We only serve it and we give it to our guests. So that's like a gift and prize. If you come to one of our workshops, you get to take some wine home. But we just serve it on site here.
Oh,
wow.
That's another reason we need to have a field trip and go take PRosé to Italy.
I would love to have you guys. It's super fun. We always have really great groups. Yeah.
So a lot of people think that the book is about typical, like Under the Tuscan Sun, a typical romance, but it's really all about how you fell in love with it as a teenager. And then you went there, you already had a family. And it's about real estate and your adventures. And truly, I became a huge fan of yours on Instagram, actually watching you build this home and putting it all together. And it was just, I loved it so much. I couldn't wait for the next step. I mean, recently you got this pink bar she was talking about. I'm like, oh my God, this is so great.
Yeah. We have a lot of adventures here for sure. It is funny because the title is sort of, it's a bit sneaky because it's, Italy is my boyfriend, but Italy is my boyfriend. But it is a lot about real estate. It's also about some bad guests, and I've got a little bit of the bad guest situation. Mostly we have good guests, but if I wrote about them, the book would be super boring. So, but yeah, it was really fun to write. It really wrote itself because I literally wrote down, all the different adventures. It took us 4.5 years to find this house, but we had lived on the Italian Riviera in Alassio, in a very pretty, very chic beach town for 12 years. We had a flat there. And so I had lived in Italy for 12 years before finding this place, which was a massive renovation project. It was, I think about it now, we're almost finished with it. At least if my husband's listening, I have to say that because, he just can't take it anymore. Because we're always doing projects here. But we just finished a pool. I just built a bocce ball court behind the pool. And so it was a massive undertaking, even for someone like me that has renovation and building experience. I was in another life before I was a photo stylist and food stylist. I was a store planner. So I did big, huge projects. So I understand construction. Of course, construction in Italy is completely different than construction in the United States of America. So there was a learning curve there, but I had my training wheels, which was our flat on the Riviera, and that had to be renovated. And so I understood sort of, a lot of the rules and regulations. And so we found this place, and it was a rubble, essentially, and no roof and bats living in it. And it is a fortress. So it was, thick stone walls, and you can kind of see behind me, that's like what the walls are like here. So it was a big project, and it warranted a book, because it was a lot of fun and a lot of heartache and a lot of money. I will say. People always think, living in Italy, it's so cheap and the labor is so cheap, and it's actually not true. It's actually just as expensive, sometimes more expensive, because you've got, true artisans here. So it was a blast. It was great. And I loved the process, and, tons of people felt like you. They loved following me on Instagram and watching, all the purchases that I made and all the solutions for things that were, took some brain power.
So that, to me, I was telling Cyndee, to me, that was like the best part of Under the Tuscan Sun, the movie, was the whole process with the family and the building and everybody living there. And then when they moved away, when it was finished, it was kind of sad. So is that the same? But you're kind of still a work in progress. So you probably still have a village coming in helping still, because you've got all those acres.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of people that work here. We have a vintner because we have a vineyard. His name is Manolo. And actually with some of our food workshops, we have very food intensive workshops here where we study slow food. We're a UNESCO region, so we're a region of slow food. They still cook in the ancient ways here. This is a very odd part of Italy that nobody knows about. It's the northwestern corner of Tuscany. So we're very near Liguria, and we're very near Emilia, and we're in a mountainous region. It looks like Colorado here. So it looks very different than Tuscany with the rolling hills. We have mountains here. Literally our view is of the Apennine Mountains. So we have a vintner, and, when he does a harvest, we have workshops, and, our guests go up and harvest grapes. We live in an olive grove, so we press olives. There's always work going on here for sure. I mean, my garden, I have a huge vegetable garden. My gardener basically lives here, John Luca. He's like my best friend. And, and so we have a staff here for sure. And we just, as I said, we just finished our bocce ball court. We have a pool now, and it's quite exquisite, I will say, because it looks onto the mountains. It's pretty magical. I'm always doing stuff around the house. And when you live in an ancient house, I mean, you just live with repairs. I mean, you're constantly repairing things, and you have to have the mindset of, well, okay, so we have a leak in the kitchen. We'll figure that out, and be hysterical about it. It's an old stone building, so yeah. So yeah, I don't feel sad that it's done, I will say. I thoroughly enjoy it. We have a beautiful commercial kitchen downstairs, and I'm in the main house. So we have a main house, we have a studio, we have a guest quarters, then we have the dependance, which is also for guests. We have 3 big terraces, and we have, this is the main house that I live in. That also has a kitchen. So,
have you ever had guests that came and maybe they met somebody and they fell in love, and then they had the wedding at your house?
No wedding yet, but maybe the
wedding yet?
Yeah, I'm currently actually writing a book about the workshops. It's a book of essays that I'm doing. So that will probably be out next year.
Okay.
Untitled right now.
Because Cyndee has a thing for Italian men. Tell her.
Oh, do you?
Well, I have a thing.
You need to come and meet my vendor.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of very gorgeous men here. Our truffle hunter is quite hot. I'll tell you a funny story about him. So we take our guests truffle hunting. And so I try everything out before my guests do. So, it's a terrible job, but somebody's got to do it. No, honestly, like I went to a spa a few weeks ago. It was terrible. So I would never let my people go to the spa. But anyway, I digress. It was kind of like Russia 1972, but whatever. So I went to go truffle hunting. So a friend of mine who owns a B&B arranged it for me. At the time, she wasn't my friend. I had never met her before. So I went, and I do crazy things like this. I just go meet people and hope for the best. And so I met her. I loved her. We're very good friends now. This was probably about 4 years ago. And so she had to go take one of her kids to school. So it was just me and the truffle hunter, and my husband jokingly was saying, "Oh, you're going to run off with the truffle hunter." I'm like, no, he's probably 90 years old. I mean, come on, don't be ridiculous. Well, this very strapping man is standing next to his car, like super cute. And, I always tell my, this is not PC. I'm going to make an announcement here because what I say is not PC, but I don't care. We're old.
We're not PC. We're PRosé.
I can say it. I'm just talking to you like I'd, be drinking wine with girlfriends. So I go up to the car, and he's really cute. So I get in the car, and he speaks great English because he was a professional cyclist. He's telling me this. And he managed a soccer team. I mean, he's like a babe. And he's like in his 40s. And so as we're driving, I realize, I'm like, oh my God, I just got into the car with like a strange man. I mean, no matter, like, what am I thinking? Like, he's going to drive me into the, I could be like dead or worse. And then I start thinking about it, and I'm like, how bad would it be? He drags me into the woods.
There could be some benefits.
Right. And the ladies that come, I'm always like, well, it could be bad. It could not be bad. So anyway, so Simona and I are really good friends now, of course. And he was charming, and he was very cute because he sensed, I think, that all of a sudden I had this moment where I was like, oh my God, this strange man is driving me into the woods, and we're going to be there alone. And so he started talking about his wife and his child, and, he rescues animals in the forest. And so he made me very at ease. And really, I fell in love with his dog, Tito. His truffle dog is just amazing. I mean, and I tell people this, and then they meet the dog and they're like, oh my God, this is the best dog I've ever met in my life. He really is just a charmer. So those are the kinds of crazy adventures I go on here. So not doing the house and not doing the renovations allows me to go out and meet local artisans, food artisans, people that make local dishes that are just amazing. And that's what my cookbook is about, is because I've met all these amazing artisans, and the food here is so different and so specific. And so we live in an area with lots of chestnut trees. And so chestnut flour is huge here. Chestnut honey, any kind of chestnut delicacy is really big here. They even make jam out of it. And then the way they lived here is they lived on the chestnuts, And then they sold the olive oil because the olive trees grow in the sun and the chestnut trees grow in the shade. And so they would live on the chestnuts were not worth as much money, but the olives were. So that's what they lived on. So that's sort of how it breaks down here. But having said that, I mean, I haven't bought a bottle of olive oil in 5 years because essentially my gardener brings me some. I mean, granted, it's in like one of those plastic water bottles, but it's really good olive oil. It's not labeled or decorative, but it's from over there basically. So yeah, so that's where we live here. It's just it's in the countryside. It's very local. The people are lovely, and you have to speak Italian because no one speaks English. So speak Italian.
Oh,
Interesting.
It's a great way to learn Italian because no one understands you, so you have to learn Italian.
Is the olive oil completely different than the United States?
Here's the deal. It's really like fresh processed, super delicious. We get that in October, and we do food-centric workshops then because we go to the press, and I'm very good friends with the owners of the press. They also mill flour, which is amazing, and the flour here is like good. The olive oil is, it's really delicious. I mean, it's what you would expect. It also is super inexpensive here. It's like I have a really hard time in America buying a very expensive bottle of olive oil, to be perfectly honest with you. Because I'm a little bit spoiled with the olive oil for sure, because it's right here. But we also get everything from the dairy. So all our cheeses come from local dairy. All of my meat comes from a local butcher. We even have a man that sells fresh trout. He has a trout farm. They're trying to reintroduce the indigenous trout to this area. So that's what this guy does. So, and again, that's what my book's about. It's about all the food just around us and how we use it. And and it's an area, it's a region, it's called the Luniana, and it's a region that is not known by Italians, and it's definitely not known by Americans. So there are very few Americans here that live here. There are a few Brits, some Germans, some Dutch, but basically it's all Italians where we live.
Yeah. Okay, so going back to the flour, for those of us who are gluten intolerant in the United States, I hear tell that the flour and the gluten is not an issue in Europe. Well,
it's true. I mean, I will be honest, it's very true. I even notice in myself, I'm not particularly gluten intolerant, but I think there is a part of me that really is, because when I'm in the States, if I eat some like pizza or whatever, I don't feel terrific. I will say that eating here in general, I do every once in a while, I will have like indigestion or heartburn or whatever in America. And it's funny, I come here and I have like my Tums and all this stuff. And I like literally after a few months need none of that stuff. I literally lose weight while I'm here because the food is not stuffed with all this really bad stuff. I literally, like right now, I'm eating, for breakfast, I eat tomatoes. And for lunch, I eat tomatoes a different way. And then for dinner, I have tomatoes because we have so many tomatoes. Tomorrow, I will be picking 40 pounds of tomatoes and making more sauce. I make sauce every day because we have so many tomatoes. But I feel like the food in general, you feel better. I feel better when I'm here. And I say that to my husband, and I know he's a doctor. I know he thinks I'm crazy, but I actually do physically feel better when I'm here because I think the food is better. So as far as the flour goes, I mean, literally where we go to the mill, they grow everything. They grow all the wheat. They do all the combinations. They do all the ratios. So you can buy a cereale, which is a real heavy whole wheat cereal flour that is insanely good. The pizza dough is gorgeous because we get pizza flour. You literally go to the mill and you tell them what you're going to cook and they give you the flour. It's great. So, and I always take everybody there because we do olive oil tastings there, and then we go through the mill. And of course, all of our flour comes from that mill, and the mill is like 10 miles away from us. So, and it's grown 15 miles from us, so. Yes. We have a lot of people that come to our workshops that are gluten-free. We have lots of food sensitivities. We're very tuned into all of them. But we do, unless you're really celiac, we do suggest people that they just try a little bit of focaccia, see what happens if they feel okay. But yeah, usually it's fine.
Well, as a foodie, tell me like a perfect date night with you and your husband, because you're working all the time. You're working nonstop. You've got a couple of days off. What would be the perfect last meal?
Oh, I love that question. Perfect last meal is always the best question. Oh my gosh. There's so many, like I would have like a feast in front of me. But I mean, I think, our pizza here, we have a pizza oven and we make our own pizza. So I think I would definitely go for a pizza made here though, in our own oven. And I love it with my pesto. And then we use burrata. And then I do zucchini flowers on top of that. That's my favorite pizza. So I would definitely want to have that. Bistecca with arugula probably be another one that I want. The bistecca here is like, it's very cute. I went to buy some, we have guests coming on Thursday and like friends of ours coming. And so I bought bistecca. And when I go to buy it, they ask me if I want it like 3 fingers, like that thick, which I just love. So the way they say it in Italian is, do you want it 3 digits? So it's, so it's really thick and it's so delicious. Oh my gosh. But then I love the mussels here. Like I would have a feast. I mean, the mussels, we have amazing mussels because we're on, we're 30 minutes from the sea and from the Bay of Poets. And I have a really good friend. He's in my book as well. And he's a mussel and clam farmer. And so we went out with him on his boat. I get to go out with him, which is super fun and it's amazing. And, he gives me this like 30-pound bag of mussels. And then, we make the mussels and they're so delicious. So, I mean, I think those are things that I would want to have for my last meal. Definitely. That would definitely be on the
And
menu.
what would you be drinking?
I like a rosé. So if they could bring that in.
Okay. You've got it all.
But I like a Negroni too. I'm a Negroni girl, so I drink a lot of Negronis.
That's what my husband loves. They're a little strong for me.
But I do drink Negronis. I do like.
What is that? Is that a beer?
A Negroni. You don't know what a Negroni is? Oh my God!
I know what a Negroni is.
I'm going to send you my cocktail book. So a Negroni is Campari, and then vermouth, sweet vermouth, and gin.
I don't like it.
It's an acquired taste. It's bitter. It's got a bitter taste. I love Campari. I'm a big Campari person. Like you like an Aperol Spritz, I like a Campari Spritz if I had my choice.
Okay.
I like an Aperol Spritz, don't get me wrong, but I really like Campari. But I like bitter things. Like I like espresso. I don't like any sugar in my espresso. I really am not a huge milk person in my espresso. I just like espresso.
What's the biggest misconception people have about Italy? I mean, we fantasize about it, we romanticize about it, but what is the biggest misconception that you think tourists have?
I think that the food, that the food's the same everywhere. I think the food is so different in every region that it's unbelievable. For example, in Milan, they don't eat garlic.
They don't?
They do not. There are pesto recipes without garlic. In northern Italy, they're not crazy about garlic. As you go south, it's very much like the South in America. As you go south, everything gets sort of like hotter and richer and, they're not big on garlic in northern Italy at all. They eat maybe more like the Swiss. It's a little more bland, don't love it, but that's just me. And all the food's really different. It's very different in Emilia, the way they eat. They eat a lot of cheeses and meats. They're known for tortellini and brodo. And then even in like Bologna and Modena and Parma, which are literally half an hour away from each other, that tortellini and brodo is different. And also they fight as to who invented it. That there's a lot of that goes on as well. But even in the region, even in the villages, they make things differently. I could ask 5 Italians here where I live how they make panagacci, which is something that is local, and they will give me different. versions of how they make it, So it's very local, the food. And I think people also think that Italy is just sort of about spaghetti and meatballs and that they can get lasagna anywhere. And that's really not true. I mean, a lot of lasagna you see on the menu, like if you're in Milan or something, it's really for tourists. I mean, they know Americans will want lasagna or spaghetti or whatever, but those are Southern dishes. And then even in the Southern region of Italy, all the little areas have very different, like they eat very differently, like on the island of Sardinia. They even speak a different language, So Italy, people forget that Italy was not a country, like 170 years ago. It was all these different, areas like states. And they came together and formed Italy, but they're still, the way they eat in Puglia is completely different than the way they eat in Tuscany. You might be right next door to a region, but it's different. They don't put salt and bread in Tuscany, and they make focaccia that's super salty, like literally 30 minutes away, So it's very, I always tell people when you come here, go to an area, stay there, learn the food, go to the same bar to get your coffee every morning. After 7 days, they'll know what your order is. Like I walk into my bar, I don't have to say anything. They just put the espresso in front of me and we chat about, whatever's going on in our little, village. So I think that's the charm of Italy. And I think Italians tend to blow through this country and spend time here. They eat completely differently in Venice, completely differently. They drink completely differently. They drink different kinds of wines, so Italy is not just Italy. It's like a lot of different regions and a lot of different foods. And, so like in Puglia, they eat raw fish. It's like they always joke that they invented sushi. But, you don't think of Italy as eating raw fish like sashimi, but they do.
And there's also differences in real estate, no doubt. So somebody's thinking, well, I've got extra money or whatever. I'd like to buy a fortress like Annette. Mm-hmm. There's probably a lot of things that people don't realize from a legal standpoint. And are realtors, is it the same?
No. And real estate here, we could sit and talk for 4 hours about real estate. The thing that I tell people, if they want to buy real estate and they're serious about it, they should spend a lot of time in Italy. I always encourage people to learn the language if they're serious about moving here, because when you move here, you're an American living in Italy. And so you're an immigrant. So it's really important that you embrace the Italian lifestyle. Mm-hmm. This isn't America. So they don't do things like they do in America. And Americans have a tendency, and this isn't bashing Americans. I love America. My parents are immigrants. They immigrated to America. But they have a tendency to say, well, we don't do it like this in America. Well, it's not America, it's Italy. This is how they do it here. Real estate is just, it's a moving target. But I tell people we rented places for 10 years before we bought here, 10 years. And we were on the Italian Riviera. We were in Liguria. We liked Liguria. We had looked in this area because a friend of mine lives in this area. Wasn't really hitting us. And we knew the Riviera. We knew Liguria, so we felt comfortable there. So we knew the lifestyle there. We knew how the beach clubs worked. We'd lived there for 10 years, renting places for 6 weeks at a time for 10 years. That's a lot of days to spend in a country. So we had a really good handle on it. And I think, just saying I'm going to move to Italy, it's a big change. It's a big lifestyle change. And then real estate, what I say is once you find an area that you like, because it's like saying, I'm going to move to America. Well, where should I move to?
Yeah.
Well, it depends. Do you like, some people like LA, some people like Chicago, some people like Texas, some people like New York. It's like that here. You have to figure out where you want to be, what speaks to you. And I think that's really important. I also think that, You should take your time buying real estate. Even with as much time as we spent here, not to spoiler alert, but we had some bad experiences. And so real estate is tough. You have to, it helps to have friends here. We had friends here, which is, invaluable, because you need to have someone you trust. Because it's a big change. Even if you're buying a house to vacation in, it's like just understanding how everything works here. It's so different than the United States. It's a lot better than it used to be because there was no like online ordering when I first moved to Italy, so it wasn't like I could get online and order something. So I really had to figure out where to get it. And so that was a big issue. And then, do you want to live here full time? Then residency, that's a whole different set of administrative issues that you have to deal with, so it's like everything in life. I mean, it's you can get it done. It's just a matter of how bad do you want it and how much time are you willing to spend on it, I think is my advice. But real estate agents here are very, very, very different. For example, a friend of mine wants to buy, there's this very cute village up the road from us, and there's this very cute house. And I highly approve of this house. And so he wants to buy it. So what's my first rule of buying real estate in Italy? Write this down. How many people own this house? How many people own this house? Because all real estate is passed down for generations. So you can have a house that is for sale, but there's actually 12 other people that own the house. And maybe one person doesn't want to sell it. So your real estate agent has to go and talk to that person and, make sure that they're okay selling it. So what happened here was typical. The real estate agent, who's a very good one here, who sold us our place, and he's really reputable and he's just a great guy. But he's an Italian real estate agent, he's pretty hang loose. So we go up there and I say, I think David really wants to buy this house. And he speaks okay English, but not great. And my friend is British. So he says, well, I have to check a few things, which is always a red flag on the field. And he didn't know who the family was. So I asked my gardener, because my gardener knows everybody here and who owns what, because he's grown up here. He knew the family. So I had to tell the real estate agent who the family was so that he could do his due diligence. And of course, it was weeks went by. He told my friend, I'll be back to you in a week. 3 weeks go by. So I say to my friend, you're going to have to ping him because he's never, he may never get a hold of you. So I pinged him and I said, so what's going on? He said, well, what I thought was true, one of the aunts doesn't want to sell it. So he said, I have a meeting with her on Friday. This was last Friday. I haven't heard a word, not one word from him. And I won't, because now it's Ferragosto, so everybody goes on vacation. So I won't talk to him again till the middle of September, because everybody doesn't come back until then. And yeah, so that's how it works here. So that's why I think Americans get very frustrated, because they don't care if it takes 6 months. They don't care if it takes a year. They don't care, because that's how they live here, which I love because it's very chill. But it's hard for an American to get into that rhythm. Like, I know everything will get done, but it's not like America where you say, will you come and paint my house? And they come and they give you a bid, and then you set a date and they come. That it's not like that. They want you and say, can I come over next Monday? And you're like, sure. And then they do a few things. And then they say, you know what, I'm going to come back. I'm going to go home and eat dinner. I'm going to come back. Like, can I come back next Monday? Sure. Come on back next Monday. And then they also send you a bill like that. Like, I had like a whole water filtration system put in, and I emailed today, like, how do I pay my bill? And they're like, oh, well, we'll send you a bill in a few weeks.
Now that's nice.
I think that there's that yin and yang, you know what I mean? Like, chill out. But Americans have generally we get things, we're very efficient people, and we get things done very efficiently, Americans. So when you move here, that's all out the window. It's just gone. And, I've adapted, and actually I think I'm a calmer person because you know what I mean? I think it's really my
blood pressure.
My OCD has definitely been tamped down because I have no control. If I say you have to come here or I'm not going to pay you, they're like, okay, like I'm going on vacation. So
I think that's part of what makes it this dream of everyone is we're so control freak over here. I want to let go.
Right. In fantasy, that's true. But then you have to actually let go. You know what I mean? Because you're like, oh, I would just like to chill out, not worry about stuff. But because it's so in our DNA, it's very hard to be Italian, if you're American. So I've lived here for like now almost 17 years. So I definitely get it at this point, and I'm pretty chilled out. But the real estate thing is really it's a moving target, definitely. It is.
And it's a few minutes.
Everything's in my book.
I know. I was going to say, you can get all the information in the book. Italy is my boyfriend. Why don't you tell everybody in the little time we have left how you can get the book and when your new book is coming out, which is going to have hot guys and food.
Yes.
It's true. That's what it has in it, actually. So Italy is my boyfriend. Very easy to buy. It's on Amazon and, all the other outlets. So, you can find it. And my new book is called La Fortessa Cookbook, which is the name of our home here. It's called La Fortessa because it's a fortress, the fortress. And it will be out fall of next year. It was very challenging shooting it during COVID, let me tell you, because it's a seasonal cookbook. So it was definitely a challenge, but we have it together. We're in the middle of designing it. So it's very exciting. So yeah, that'll be out. Rizzoli is my publisher, same publisher from Picture Perfect Parties. And then, honestly, it's a gorgeous book. I mean, I'm so proud of this book. It's so beautiful. It's been shot by David Loftus, who is an English photographer, and he shoots for Jamie Oliver. If you guys, follow him on Instagram. I mean, he has the most beautiful Instagram feed in the world. It's so gorgeous. And he's such a gentleman and a scholar. He was, one of my most favorite photographers I've ever worked with. And I have a very long career. So he was just a dreamboat to work with. So that was a plus, having all the challenges of COVID. And I mean, those guys got tested like a bajillion times. And then finally, the last shoot, we were all vaccinated, which was really quite pleasant because it has been very challenging. And, Italians are taking COVID-19 very, very seriously. They get vaccinated, they wear masks. We don't even have to wear masks outside, and everybody's got a mask. And when somebody walks up, you pull it up, and everybody wears masks inside. And everybody's very mindful. I mean, even at the grocery store. And if you're not wearing a mask, some nonna will yell at you in the middle of the grocery store. Some grandma, she'll be like, "Put your mask on."
How do you say "put your mask on" in Italian?
Mascherina. That's what they
And don't forget, you've got a couple of seats left for some of your workshops, and Cyndee and I want to be there. How do we get more information on your workshops?
Super easy. I mean, all you have to do is either, if you follow me on Instagram, it's all, on the profile, there's all the links. Easiest way is just to type in Annette Joseph workshop and it comes up right away. We have, I think 5 spaces left if you want to go shopping with me, which is also really super fun. Cause I take you to all my secret haunts and, we go on the countryside to these amazing vendors and see amazing things. If you're a flea market person or a shopper, we also go fancy schmancy shopping, and we have a lot of fun. So that has 5 spaces in it, and then we have Julie Montague, who has Whole Self Yoga. She's from London. You might remember her from the Ladies of London. She was one of the Ladies of London and that Bravo show. Yeah, she's my neighbor. And my BFF. We're both just Midwestern girls in the middle of Lunijana. She has a really cute little house that she's renovating. She's actually got a really fun YouTube channel where she shows renovation. You'll see me in there too because I'm helping her. But so she's an amazing yogi. Like, she is so amazing. And we decided to team up, and she's going to do yoga workshops here, yoga retreats, yoga and wellness. And we'll do cooking classes during those as well.
And wine.
And of course, I mean, absolutely, it's part of wellness. And so we have 3 spots left in her June 15th through the 20th of 2022. 3 spots left. I'll be honest with you, I don't think they're going to last very long because we sold out. Her first workshop, we sold out like in 3 days, which is unheard of. But it should be really fun. I did a really cool yoga pad, like a grass pad over by the pool. So we can do yoga by the pool. We can do it in the vineyard. We can do it on our terrace. So it's really, and everybody can walk up to the vineyard. It's really fun here. I mean, honestly, I love it. I hate to say this. I mean, I love my family, but I'm going to be very sad to come back at the end of October because I've been here since February. So,
you mean to come back to America?
United States, yeah.
Well, never tell.
Well, yeah.
Okay, audience, you're not allowed to tell.
No one say a word. My husband knows, believe me. He's retiring next year, which will be great because then he can come and spend time with me. So I'm very excited about that. He's a big cyclist and photographer and stuff. So, and he loves it here. So we'll have fun. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for being on PRosé.
Oh my God, this was so fun. I'm such a fan of you guys. So chin chin, and I'm going to bed now. So
okay, good night. Yes.
Okay. Ciao.
We'll see everybody next week.
Ciao, guys.
Join us next week for another edition of PRosé with Vikki, Locke, and Cyndee Woolley from C2 Communications.